Hey guys, Stealth here. Welcome to World of Warships, where today I'm looking at the Pensacola. Now, the Pensacola, when I first got this ship, I really hated it. It's very fragile, it's very vulnerable. The moment that you get shot at, you're very likely to take massive damage, and especially citadels, of course, are a big problem to this ship. It does, however, have guns which are way better than the things that you get on the Cleveland. Its AA rating is pretty damn good, although in this battle that won't do me any good because there are no carriers on the enemy team. But what you can do with these large caliber guns is do a lot of damage. Provided that you are not on the front line, that is. These 203mm guns, of which the ship packs 10, they are very good, but the moment you start to get fired at, you will definitely notice. So play it as a second support line ship. Do not be on the front line because when you do, you usually don't live long, and that's something that I really had to learn when playing this ship. Anyway, we are here in a mostly tier 7 match on the new Dawn Domination version map. Mostly tier 7s, a couple of tier 6s, even some tier 5s have been thrown in. Some really unlucky tier 5s, I should say, because a lot of these cruisers are very dangerous to the Omaha and the Nicholas. And, of course, no carriers and very little battleships, actually. Just two Colorado, a Colorado, a Congo, and a Nagato. And the rest of it's cruisers or destroyers. Now, I'm trying to link up with the battleships, and she's making good speed. You can get her up to about, I believe, 32 knots, maybe 33 to 34 with the signal flags, but I'm not particularly using those. This ship is remarkably agile. She turns very quickly. And you can use this not only to dodge shells, but also dodge torpedoes, and that's something that I will also be needing in this replay. First target is up, and I don't believe that the range of the ship's particularly good. I do have the New Orleans now, so it's been a while since I recorded this replay. First ship is in range, it's the Omaha over there. Unfortunately, there's a big island in the way, so I'm trying to clear out that island ASAP. And nope, no shots yet. Maximum range for the ship is 15.5 clicks. So 15.5 kilometers, and you can really, well, pretty accurately fire at something, provided you give it enough lead. He's behind the island there, but we got more targets. We got a Mayoko over there. He's moving at pretty high speed, so I'm giving him a lot of lead. Firing armor penetration and trying to get those citadels in. And it looks like these are going to do a nice amount of damage. And there we go, 6.5, incapacitated one turret, at least temporarily. That's what you get for keeping your ship perfectly still like that. Second salvo, and I immediately start turning, because now I have been firing from the same position for a while. So I immediately angle the ship away and try to just make sure that I blade it a little bit. Make sure I don't present myself as a target such an easy target. Destroyer over here. I really didn't have a shot at the Mayoko anymore, so I decided to put a few rounds into this Nicholas. It was just there on the real edge of the cap circle. Now he's apparently decided that this is no longer a good spot to hide out in. He's backing away. And really, I don't do that much damage to him because I'm just firing armor penetration, and I was actually too lazy to switch back to HE. So let's go find another target. Cruiser heading away is not really a good target, so again into the Nicholas. Nicholas has been killed though. Someone else took him out. You can also see, if you've been paying attention, I'm not moving at full speed. I'm only moving at 16 knots. Because if I use all the speed, I'm more likely to get myself into trouble than anything else. And I would really like to keep this shield of ships in front of me. Cruiser there, cruiser, destroyer, a couple more cruisers and a battleship. And I'll just happily do the damage from all the way over here. AP shells trying to get more holes into this Pensacola. Looks like they're going to hit. And of course I overshoot the target. Couple more rounds going in. You swing the ship out, and then the moment that you fire, you swing your ass back to make sure you present yourself as a smaller target. That's exactly what I'm doing here. Very little damage on the Pensacola there, only 460. Keep scanning around, keep trying to find new targets. This Mayoko is not great. He's already heading out of range. We got a destroyer coming in. The other Pensacola seems to be going behind the islands there, so he's going to be a very, very difficult target. At least for me, but I have some allies over there. An Omaha, a Miyoko, possibly a Koningsberg, who are all going to hunt down the Pensacola. So let's find a different target, and we have a Bajoni coming in here. Very lightly armed light cruiser. Sorry, lightly armored. Their armament's actually quite good. And their range is better than this tier 7 class cruiser. So I have to be careful with that ship. But, talking of being careful, they have a destroyer here. Now these Russian class destroyers usually don't have a lot of range on the torpedoes, but I still cannot really take a risk with this guy. So switching to HE, turning the ship, and trying to get some shells downrange. And that's of course when the Bajoni pops up again. So I'm waiting for my number 3 and 4 turret to get into range, trying to get a good angle on him. I actually wait a little bit too long for the shots in the Oknevoy. He's moving behind the island. There we go. Shells out. 8.5 clicks away. Perfect engagement distance for me. There we go. 1800 damage. Defended the base. But the Bajoni is starting to fire, so I reload AP. Come on. Nope, no shot. Gonna have to switch to the Oknevoy again. Couple rounds going in, and of course AP is not the best weapon choice or the best shell choice for this target, but it still do a pretty nice amount of damage. Switching back over to the Bajoni, it's an easier target, has more hit points, and it's much easier to get a large amount of damage in through citadels. Here we go. That's what I want to see. 8,500. Backing away together with this Cleveland, because the destroyer is still somewhere out there, and although again it doesn't have the range, even its armor penetration shells can really hurt this cruiser. So turning around, and when turning the Pensacola, make sure that you switch the speed back to about half speed. It's going to make your turns a lot easier and a lot faster. Slow moving Aoba here. Unfortunately I had HE loaded, because I thought I was going to engage the destroyer. And I wait till the other turrets are in position as well, because now I can get all of my shells downrange, and then I switch to armor penetration. The destroyer is still working on capping B, so it's still somewhere in there. And unfortunately the Molotov and the Bajoni are now solidly behind the island, but the Miyoko is coming out to play. This is the Miyoko that I took about 6,500 health off earlier. And there's the Bajoni. Trying to get a good shot. I'm also trying to angle the ship, so I'm trying to steer the ship around. You can see I'm heading away from the threat here, but that still gives me a lot of damage. Unfortunately, I didn't really hit him. I didn't really get a lot of damage in. Engaging with the rear gun turrets, and I accidentally hit the Miyoko instead for a citadel hit. Trying to swing the ship out again. Get those front turrets firing. Turrets have fired. And immediately swing her back. Just present a small profile. 12,000 damage done on the Miyoko. And he is really starting to hurt here. But I have more threats coming in. I have a Molotov and a Cleveland. And the Molotov just really hurt me with moderate damage there. Taking a pretty decent portion of hit points off. Here's the Oknevoy. For some reason just parked here. I engage with armor penetration. Not the best shell type, again. But this is just what I had loaded at the time. A couple more rounds coming in. I do manage to get at least some sort of armor in the way. Switching to the Molotov. Again, keeping the ship zigzagging. Presenting myself as a difficult target. Now a Cleveland is a pretty hard target. It's not so much hard in the sense that it has a lot of armor. But these things, with their HE rounds, can really quickly torch this ship. So, trying to get some damage into him, trying to discourage him, and I get one citadel for almost 8,000. Reloading, and this guy just keeps sailing in a straight line, presenting himself as a very easy target. If you want to do it like that, by all means, go ahead, but I will punish you for it. There we go. Ship down. We got the Oknevoy still behind me, but at a respectable distance. So instead I switched to the Molotov and try to get some bow penetrations with the armor penetration rounds. Let's hope that these go through. Switching around to the Ognivoy. Couple of hits in, about 4,500 there. Now in the meanwhile, the enemy still has 2 capture zones. They have to be in the C zone. We're not likely to get the C zone anytime soon. And the B zone is being contested by a friendly destroyer. But that friendly destroyer is about to run into the Molotov. Our Kamikaze, that's the destroyer that's capping, does not have a lot of hit points, so this Molotov has to go. And I'm unsure what he's doing, but he's just sitting there. He is just happily sitting there. And unfortunately, does make him a bit of an easy target for him. There's the Confederate Award for doing a lot of damage to multiple different targets. Second salvo going in, and immediately look for new targets, seeing if there's other threats nearby. Currently, not so much. A little bit of damage there. You could argue that maybe I should be going for HE in a position like this, because the ship is pretty heavily angled. But the Molotov is really a pretty poorly defended cruiser. It is really, really bad on armor. Now we just lost our destroyer, so instead I'm pushing in here to cap, and it's a bit risky because I'm looking at a Molotov, an Iowa, and a Colorado. But it looks like the Molotov might be going out of action soon, as I put a Citadel hit on him. Colorado is going to be a problem, but he's not a problem yet. I should really not have fired at him like that, because now I really got his attention. There we go, 3,500, almost 4,000 damage. And usually when people start to take fire, they go, who was that? Who did that? And that's when they usually find me. Here we go. Citadel hit. Do not present your broadside, especially not in the Molotov. Turning port here to avoid the incoming shells from the Aoba, trying to get the Molotov finished off first. Shells going in, and again, broadside. Lots and lots of damage. The Aoba though, the Molotov has a large rate of fire, and with HE rounds or AP, it doesn't really matter for him. He can do a lot of damage. Here's the torpedoes. I'm trying to get the torpedoes away from my ship. There we go. Set them on fire, and I actually get a close quarters medal for that, for taking that Molotov out with my secondary armament. Torpedoes fortunately did not quite have the range. And instead of going for the Aoba, I instead go for the Colorado, which I can hit behind the island, but only barely. And I still have multiple ships behind me. I have the Aoba, I have a Colorado, a Congo might be in range at this stage. And with my low amount of hit points, I just decide to get the hell out of here. I just decide to run. Aoba has been killed off, leaves him with just 3 ships. And I'm just using this island right now to try and get myself a little bit of cover and try to get the other ships some time to catch up, because we have plenty of ships here. They're just not really in a good position to engage yet. Especially the Cleveland will not be in range. The York, I don't think so. York does not have 20-kilometer range. Trying to get some more rounds down range. Colorado is again the target here, again firing with armor penetration. Should have been HE, but sometimes you can get lucky and you can get some decent hits in. And for some reason this Colorado is just ignoring me. He seems to be heavily engaged with, I believe, the cruisers over there, the Miyoko and the Königsberg. And now I finally switched to HE, and exactly when I switched to HE, my AP rounds do a lot of damage, 4,000 into that Colorado. Now, although I'm not actually a threat, I keep zigzagging, and I zigzag my way right into this Nagato here. HE rounds are going onto target, but don't do anything, as I'm probably firing them too low. I should have fired it for the superstructure instead. This is when the Colorado starts to take an interest in me, and by the looks of it, he's firing HE rounds. I'm not entirely 100% on that, but I think those were HE rounds. Try to get more shots in. I just need to hit this guy a few more times and try to put him on fire. No such thing. And at the same time, I'm still capturing the B area together with his Nagato. If that Colorado gets lucky and he gets 1 or 2 more shots in, I'm toast. So instead I just keep peppering this guy, I keep whittling him down with HE, but he is definitely going for me. He apparently does not care about the Nagato, which in his case I cannot blame him for. And again he takes 4,000 hit points off. I take off another 1,300 of him. I keep swinging his ship out, keep trying to get most of my gun turrets on target, and then swinging back to present myself as a smaller target. Colorado keeps taking damage, 924, but right now he seems to be burning as well. And I'm really waiting for the Nagato to finish him off. More shells coming in. I swing the ship around, but the last shell hit my aft. I do, however, with the last few rounds, and possibly with the HE rounds, manage to kill him. And unfortunately that did end my my reign of terror in this ship. But I'd say that I got a lot of damage in, as you're going to see in the battle results screen. And this is the results. 390,509 credits, and of course I will have to subtract a little bit of cost for getting the ship back up. Almost 120,000 damage done there. A lot of citadels, a bit of base defense. I managed to assist in capturing the B zone. Got a large amount of shells on target and even shot down 1 aircraft, which was probably a spotter from one of the team members. As far as team score goes, highest on the team. I'm splitting the most amount of kills with the guy in the Aoba on place number 4, but the difference between my amount of XP and the XP from the Nagato I found pretty significant. As far as detailed goes, you can see that I spread out my damage pretty nicely among multiple ships. The Molotov, the Colorado, the Cleveland and the Miyoko all got hit by between 20 and 30,000 damage. And I actually did quite a nice amount of damage to that Nicholas that we saw try and capture the base initially. The Bujoni I would have loved to do more damage to, but someone else put a really nice citadel into him when I was engaging the Bujoni and I think it was the Miyoko with him. Instead my rounds hit the Miyoko and got a free citadel for that. Now, as mentioned, you have to subtract a little bit of income as far as credits goes. So my net profit is really 265,000. Still, really, really good round for me in the Pensacola. Alright, for the second replay for today, another Pensacola. This Pensacola lineup for me is really, really nice. I really don't have a lot of contestants on the enemy team at my tier. Just the Nagato, the Atlanta and the Indianapolis. And of course there is a Kiev down there, but so long as I can keep the Kiev at range, he shouldn't be that much of an issue. On my team, the only other tier 7 is the Indianapolis. We do not get a tier 7 battleship, but when I see this amount of cruisers and a couple of destroyers, if you're in a Pensacola, you can just really, really go to town on them. And because I'm expecting to engage cruisers first, I start out with loading armor penetration. No matter what the angle is, I'm very likely to get a couple of good hits on him. And otherwise I'll just wait or switch to a different target. Now it's a different map, it's the neighbors map, and on this neighbors map I usually, if I'm in a cruiser, head over to this area, because with these islands, if you have to, you can still use them for cover. And I'm saying to the team, hey guys, let's go for B and C, because that's where our destroyers are closest to, so we can get an early cap in. Hoping that the rest of the team is going to follow suit and that they are also going to link up. Now, as for the team, I'm almost colliding here with an Omaha. We have a Nuremberg, a Kirov, an Indianapolis, a Bujoni heading that way. Farragut's taking point. And this guy, Nikotam, is someone I recognized from the last game. That's why I was typing in chat to him. And he really, really played well last time I was operating with him. And this time around, he is not going to disappoint again. He is a really, really good destroyer player. Now, you could argue that I'm actually moving out too fast too far. And you'd be right. I'm moving too far ahead of the rest of the task force. However, I am a tier 7 cruiser, so I was a bit torn between feeling that I should take point and shouldn't take point. I should, because I'm lead cruiser, and I shouldn't because I'm a lead cruiser with no armor. That makes it a bit of a difficult change-off, or a bit of a trade-off to see what kind of attack would be easiest to do for me. I know that there's a destroyer down there. I unfortunately cannot quite see it yet, as it's hidden behind the airfield there. Or that is an airfield, right? Oh, this replay system is really not that good. Yep, I believe that is an airfield. We also have a destroyer over there, a Farragut. Look at that. The replay system now just refuses to acknowledge my ship altogether. There we go. We have an Indianapolis over to the right. We have an enemy Farragut skirmishing with our Farragut over here. Let's see. I don't believe our torpedoes are going to do anything at this stage, though. Trying to find different targets, but if we can capture C, that would be a really good start. Unfortunately, our Farragut's running away because he's being engaged not only by the destroyer but also by the cruiser behind him, and an Omaha is absolutely deadly against a ship like that. Now I'm just trying to wait till I get a good shot in, because right now I just don't have any good line of sight. Looking for the Farragut, but again, big island in the way. No way to lob shells over the island, and the Farragut knows that too. But oh, we got another target here. We got a Kiev. Again, I have the wrong shell type loaded. I have armor penetration because I thought I was going to engage a cruiser, and that's usually when you just end up engaging destroyers. But I still do a nice amount of damage. That's when the Indianapolis presents herself. The Indianapolis is a cruiser that is potentially even more fragile than I am. And it really, really should not be operating on the front line like it is. It's just presenting itself as a big bag of hit points. Unfortunately, it's not exactly in range for me, but the Kiev is. And he is trying to make speed here. I'm trying to get some more shells in, and unfortunately we lost our first cruiser. A couple of rounds going in, really not that much damage, only 1300, and he's backing away before I can get more shells in. But here's the Omaha. Omaha sailing straight on, completely unaware of anything, or he hasn't learned the art of zigzagging yet. A couple of shells going in. Unfortunately I gave it too little lead, and this is when we get a bit of a collision. I'm trying to slow the ship down, but I still eat a torpedo, as this Nuremberg was, he was focusing as well downrange, and I just completely derped out and was not aware of him. Not just that, but I'm also running into this island, so I have to turn away and temporarily disengage with my bow turrets, leaving me with only my rear turrets. I'm trying to get shells into the Kiev, and the Indianapolis is still there at the front line, slugging it out with a Nuremberg. Indianapolis at a 12-kilometer range, as far as I'm concerned, is too close. That's a very, very uncomfortable range for an Indianapolis, as it does not give you enough time to just dodge shells. Trying to get shells downrange ASAP. Turrets were still turning. Come on. Nice Citadel there, taking about 5,000 hit points off of him. And I'm really trying to get shots in on this Farragut, because if we can neutralize him, we can start capping. And he knows it. He's again ducking behind the island. This destroyer captain was probably scrambling for cover, and he knew he was going to go down, but he can still get torpedoes off. And that might be exactly what he's trying to do against the Omaha over there, and a couple of more supporting cruisers that we have, because we have a pretty large concentration here. We've got the Nuremberg, the Omaha, the Farragut, and the Bajoni on the far end. And the destroyer immediately went down. A couple of shots going in, destroyer down. Firing on the Omaha now, who's still not really zigzagging that much. Unfortunately, not a lot of damage. So I'm just trying to close in. Just trying to get more distance between myself and the rest of the fleet, as I'm trying to take point here. Ship went down. Omaha unfortunately went right behind the island, and I have to be careful not to crash into this New Mexico here. That would really not be good to just collide with two ships at the same time. We got Amy Hire over here, who seems to be a bit pissed off about taking torpedo fire. Maybe he just has not learned that a ship has a rudder, and that you can actually just swing the ship around in order not to get hit. But, okay. Maybe people just don't realize that that's a possibility. Trying to get shots into the Furataka, which is the guy that was complaining about the torpedoes, so I only thought it was fair not to go after him with torpedoes, but with just main caliber guns. He is still sailing in a straight line, although he is backing away to port, trying to just blade the ship, but the Pensacola, well, I just didn't quite get the shot in, and I again managed to run myself aground, albeit slightly, and I'm bouncing off of this island. At the same time, getting rounds in on the Omaha, who takes a citadel and just blows up. We have torpedoes coming in, and this is going to get exciting. I'm trying to turn the ship out, and unfortunately I still eat one, but I almost took another one. There we go. We still have this Furtaka over here, and not just that, we have plenty of targets. We got a Nuremberg, we got a Königsberg, a Murmansk. And considering he's turning and trying to speed up, I'm aiming slightly in front of him, trying to get some shells in. Aimed too high. That would have been a perfect citadel, because he's so flat on. He is just presenting himself as a beautiful target. Spread out my shells a bit more. And a couple of shells going in with one citadel for 4,600 damage. And he immediately backs off. He's had enough of that. So instead I switch my fire to the Murmansk, which is presenting itself as a very steady target, still sailing in a straight line. Easy to get shells in on him. 3,300. I do start to back away now, because I do not feel like engaging all of these cruisers by myself. More shots going in on the Murmansk, but again he starts turning away. And I don't believe I get that much in, but apparently one citadel, 7,300. And just the sheer amount of cruisers that are operating over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's just too many of them. And especially the Atlanta could be a massive threat to me. So I try to get as much damage into him as possible before he gets into that 11.1 kilometer range where the Atlanta can really start to rack up the damage. Shells going in, he is presenting a beautiful target, and I take him for 10,000 damage with a citadel and a couple of just standard penetration rounds. He gets taken out. Scratch one cruiser. Trying to find a nice flat on target. I don't really find any, so I instead decide to go for the Nuremberg, although this ship or that one might have been a slightly better target, albeit at longer range. No damage, the ship was moving a bit faster than expected. I think the Furataka stopped firing at this position, which is why he just disappeared like that. Shells trying to go in, again, barely got anything on him. So instead, I go for the Cleveland, and the Cleveland is also sailing in a straight line. Whereas I'm zigzagging as much as possible to make myself a hard target, these guys are just sailing in straight lines. Shells going in, but shells going over. Didn't quite get the shot in. And this is where I start to take a bit of damage. Luckily, most of those rounds are bouncing off, but I believe it's the Nuremberg right behind me is trying to get some damage in. I get a bit of damage into the Cleveland, but he still has 18,000 left. So we're going to have to hit this guy again. Shells are reloaded. I speed up and I immediately angle my ship away, because the shells from the Cleveland are coming in. I speed up, I slow down, zigzag. Make yourself a hard to hit target if you are using the Pensacola, because otherwise you're going to really regret it. Turn. I take a bit more damage, but fortunately not too much. And we just slug it out here a little bit, and another island in the way. Slow down, swing the ship out, and this is exactly at the wrong time that I was swinging the ship out, because now I'm flat on to the Nuremberg, which does give me all of my turrets, but it also gives him a perfect broadside position. Situational awareness for my end was not really that good in this position. Because, again, I kept sailing into islands left, right, and the center. Shells going in, Citadel him, 1600 health off, and suddenly we're not that far apart as far as health goes. He keeps sailing on, keeps presenting a broadside, which is perfect, because that means I can punish him again. 2300 versus my 5300. He penetrates my ship, leaving me on 1400 hit points. More shells coming in, 12 hit points left. The ship is really being held together by duct tape at this stage, but I get the kill. I'm trying not to get hit, and unfortunately for that Nuremberg, the slight angling from my ship just managed to save me. That's really all that saved me at this end. Furataka expected me to be a slightly bit more to the right, which I completely wasn't. Unfortunately, I cannot use the bow turrets at this point because I'm just keeping the rear as flat as possible. Swinging again. And again, I run into an island, or close enough. Do a little bit of damage. But unfortunately, I get hit again by the Furataka and he takes me out. Still, I managed to destroy 2 ships and take a couple more of them with me, as unfortunately the Pensacola slips beneath the waves here. With all of my signal flags, with all of my crew, but it was not in vain, as we're going to see in the battle results screen. And there are the results. Not as much in the sense of credits as I had with the last battle, but XP again, very, very nice at 4,499, with 225 premium XP or free XP. 6 citadels, 2 destroyed ships, a couple of incapacitations. Again, I shot down 1 aircraft, presumably another spotter here or there. As far as team score goes, did not get the highest, but I only missed it by about 5 XP. And as mentioned, Nikatam over there did a really, really good job in the Farragut. Detailed report shows that, again, I spread my damage out pretty nicely, getting a little bit less damage in than last time. As last time I got almost 120, but this was still 62. But being able to take ships down from high health to medium or low health and just trying to get as many targets hit as possible also gives you a decent amount of XP, because I didn't cap anything in this situation. I only defended the base a few times. Net profit 139,000 credits and of course a nice amount of XP. Don't look at the ship in the background though, that's just a Farragut. That's the one I was following at the time. That's Nikatam. Anyway, I hope that this replay has shown you, together with the previous replay, that the Pensacola is indeed a good ship. You just have to be really, really careful with it. But if you are careful, if you make sure you don't get hit as much as I was, you can get even more damage done than I did. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Pensacola. I, for one, hated it when I started out with it, and once you get it upgraded, it gets better, but maybe your experiences are completely different. So let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for more World of Warships.